Hello everybody, Liz here and welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about a new paranormal romance series that I discovered called The Immortals of New Orleans, and it is by author Kim Grasso. So the first book that I discovered and I read was Kades Dark Embrace. So I don't have a physical copy of the book because I got it on my Kindle, so I'll try to post a picture of the cover of that in a second here. So I actually discovered this book on accident. I was just browsing Kindle deals and the book ended up being free for like a first book series. And so this is a paranormal romance series, like I said. This is definitely an adult book. If you are not into romance or erotica or vampires, it's not the book for you. So like I said, so it is a vampire book where vampires have been out and so are other supernatural creatures. It reminds me a tiny bit in that aspect of like the True Blood series, like the Southern Vampires. I can't remember the name of it. The book series that inspired True Blood, where vampires have been have outed themselves, and they are very much roaming around in the world. So this book follows our heroine, Sydney, and our beautiful love interest, Kade. So this is told in a third-person perspective, and it is a very short novel. It is only 282 pages. I gave this book a 4 out of 5, just because it surprised me quite a bit. Sometimes the Kindle deal books can be a little disappointing because, you know, they're on the Kindle deals and they're free and stuff like that. But this book ended up surprising me quite a bit. I ended up enjoying it a lot more than I had anticipated. I read the book very quickly. Like I said, it's a very short book, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 instead of a 5 out of 5 just because there was a little bit of disconnect for me in like when the couple was like for real falling in love towards the end of it, and I think that's just because the book is so short. I feel like if we had added maybe like even 50 pages to the story, it would have felt a lot more organic when towards the end of the book, when we're having like the emotions start to come out and stuff like that. So that was the only thing that I can kind of criticize about the book, is there's a tiny bit of disconnect towards the end of the story. The actual plot of the story is quite interesting. There is a case, there's a serial killer, and Sydney is a detective. So she's a detective in Philadelphia, and Kade gets brought in because he is part of like the supernatural police department, and they go on an adventure, or not an adventure, but they go on this case together to find this serial killer. So like I said, this is kind of set in like an alternate universe where the couple is together. I definitely enjoyed both Kade and Sydney as our main characters, especially Sydney as a heroine, because sometimes in romance we get to have kind of a very docile and a lost version of a main character, and with Sydney I found that she was quite refreshing in that she is a detective, she is married to her work, she is kind of, you know, she's very sexually aware of herself. So a lot of the times we meet heroines who haven't had sex in a long time or don't seek sex, and Sydney is definitely does not fit that bill, so I definitely enjoyed that. And then we have Kade. Obviously he's the starting off as a mysterious kind of vampire, very assertive, very rich, and kind of arrogant, but in a very subtle way. I didn't think that it came off as abusive or anything like that. Obviously like these two characters end up falling in love at the end of the story, but it kind of bleeds into the next story, which I'm currently reading and I'm very much enjoying as well. Oh, I guess another thing I can kind of say that jarred me a little bit is there is no page breaks between like the shift in perspective. So it goes from like Sydney, Kate to like maybe potentially other characters. It does say their names, but it throws me off a little bit sometimes, especially when it's like when I'm reading it fast and I'm like, oh wait, like it's from a different character's perspective. But that just might be me, that I don't understand that. But yeah, like there's just that bit. I think it would have worked if it was a lot longer, maybe closer to 350 pages as opposed to 282. I think that it would have definitely enriched the actual falling in love, just because the angst is very much there and I very much enjoyed it. But just that. Other than that, I definitely enjoyed the characters, I enjoyed the plot, I enjoyed the sexy times, I enjoyed that these characters are like fleshed out. I get it's not really a spoiler, but at the beginning of the story we have Sydney on the prowl on the prowl, like looking for a sexual partner because she realizes that she has needs as a sexual person, and it's something that I feel like has never really been explored, or maybe in the romance that I read it's not too explored, where like the female goes out and pursues, you know, her own pleasure. So it's definitely very enlightening. We have her actually finding somebody that is her friend, like an actual friend, who she engages with in sexual acts, and it's pleasurable, which is something that's also radical to me, because a lot of the times if the main heroine has had sex, they tend to not enjoy it, or it wasn't great and stuff like that. And turns out that the person that she has sex with knows Kade, and it is very nice in the way that like there's no like butting head rivalry male machismo bullshit where like the characters hate each other because they both touched the same woman, they both slept with the same woman. And that was actually very refreshing. I had never seen that in the paranormal romances that I read. I definitely enjoyed this new author, Kim Grosso, so I'm definitely interested in reading the rest of Horror Immortals series. It is a little short, but I think that works very well. I hope that her books get longer and we get a little bit more romance in them, if that makes sense. So like the angst is there. The angst is definitely there in the first book, and I'm hoping that it continues this way, and I hope I continue to like the heroines, because I'm currently in book 2 and I very much like the heroines, which is something that sometimes does not happen. The heroines kind of get or they're very cookie cutter, and they are not in this story. So I was very, very pleased, and I am very much excited to continue reading. Like I said before, let me know in the comments down below if you have read this series, and if there are any other paranormal romance series that you would recommend me that kind of fit the bill. So yes, let me know in the comments down below if you have read this book, and if you liked it, and if you have any thoughts on it, any book series that you think I should definitely pick up, paranormal romance, or otherwise. And yeah, that is all for me, guys. I hope you guys liked this very laid back review discussion on Kades Dark Embrace by Kim Grosso. I hope to see you guys in my next video. So yeah, that is all for me. I hope you have a good morning, afternoon, or night whenever you happen to be watching this, and happy readings. Adios!